Well, thank you for being a part of this mobile conversation. It's going to be part one of three as we talk about fear and freedom. We're looking at Psalm 23 and asking some good questions. We hope as you share these videos that you'll be able to ask and answer some good questions as well. We're in the middle of Psalm 23 right now where it says, even though I walk through the darkest valley or the valley of shadow of the death, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me. Your rod and your staff comfort and protect me. You prepare a feast for me in the presence of my enemies. We've been talking about this idea of the shepherd in this conversation piece, but now we're going to go down this idea of, well, what are we afraid of? What are some of your fears? Failure, fear of success. As parents, sometimes we fear our kids' safety, or even as they get older, the independence that they start to take on, that they're going to make bad choices. I think another part of fear is just general things, darkness, heights, spiders, snakes, things along those lines. Everybody fears something. That's one of the great things about this idea of even talking about it, is that across cultures, across languages, everybody experiences fear. And David, who wrote Psalm 23, is challenging us. He's basically making a statement that he will not fear, even though he walks through fear. That's what the verse is actually saying. Even though I walk through a reason to be afraid, I won't be afraid. Observations about fear that I've just kind of noticed is that fear may not always be rational, but it's always powerful. And we can always see that in other people, but we very rarely see it in ourselves. Some of the most common fears in other people. Public speaking is still the number one fear. What if I get embarrassed? What are they going to think? What are they going to say? Are they going to criticize me? Are they going to confront me? I mean, a lot of leaders struggle with confrontation and criticism and leading others. And a lot of people who work in jobs struggle with, am I going to lose my job? And they're afraid. Or, I might have this job forever. Am I going to have this job forever? And they're fearful of sort of being stuck. And so, again, fear just kind of touches everyone. And even though our fears are not always rational, they're always powerful. And fear in the mind does cause stress in the body. I think fear plays itself out in our mental, emotional, and physical state. And so the question comes, what are you experiencing when it comes to fear? How's it playing itself out in your life? Is it physical? Is it sleeping, not sleeping, sleeping too much, eating too much, drinking too much? Is it coming out in other ways like ulcers and headaches and sinus infections and some of those kind of symptoms? Because fear in the mind causes stress in the body, and it plays itself out, again, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Fear is really vision without hope. It's this future that we're so certain is going to be horrible or devastating or whatever the case is. I notice this oftentimes with people who are dealing with real, sickness, cancer. They're going through divorce. They sort of look down the road and they see all the worst possible things imagined. And it's really a vision of the future without any hope at all. I would just want to stop at this conversation just so we can talk about the fact that we do have fear. Every one of us experiences it. Every one of us walk through the sort of a valley of fear at some point in our life, or many times actually. And we need to be able to recognize that fear and what is it and how it is that it's being kind of played out in our life before we go down the conversation and path of how we're going to battle this and how it is that the Bible actually challenges us to battle it. So I'm just going to leave you with a few questions. How is fear kind of playing itself out in your life? Who are you afraid of? Whose opinion matters way too much to you? Whose lack of acknowledgement or praise or criticism matters too much to you? What circumstance do you dread the most? Is it losing loved ones? Is it losing a job? Is it financially being insecure? What situation, what thing sort of do you avoid at all costs? What do you fear?